that drive nations forward. From the vibrant streets of Lagos, Africa's fastest economic hub, SOUQ News takes you on a journey of discovery, analyzing and reporting the facts that lay the foundation for growth and development. We don't just report the news, we create it. SOUQ News is more than a channel. It is a catalyst for change, spotlighting the stories that shape economies, inspire entrepreneurs, and fuel progress. Covering business, finance, technology, energy, and many more, SOUQ News provides a daily deep dive into the stories that matter, interviews with industry titans, and analysis that empowers your understanding of economic landscape. Join us daily as we dissect, discuss, and deliver the most relevant and factual news on business and the economy. SOUQ News is your trusted guide, empowering you with the knowledge to make informed decisions. The Three Wise Men. Iconic sculptures and statues adorn major metropolitan cities of the world. In Lagos, Nigeria, the statue of three men designed to depict the state's cultural heritage and to usher in visitors and tourists into the ever-accommodating center of excellence is no doubt an astounding work of art. Originally built under the administration of Colonel Raji Rasaki, designed by Bodu Shodende in 1991 and standing over 12 feet high, referred to as Agba Meta or Aro Meta, the three sculptured chiefs were placed along the Lagos-Ibadan toll gate to welcome people coming into Lagos State. The statue called the Three Wise Men by many has become a major signature for the state. Three white-capped chiefs clad in white wrappers, knotted across their shoulders and with clenched right fists are shown in the artwork. The images fascinate and create impressions in the minds of visitors coming into the state, captivating the attention of visitors who look with keen interest, pondering on the messages which the posture of the engraved images signifies. The Three Wise Men has been relocated thrice from its original position at Ojodu Berger end of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway to Magodo area before its final relocation to its present site at Olowopopo Drive. The sculpture has suffered severe damages over the years and renovated. Bodu Shodende, through this sculpture, depicted the highest honor that can be afforded to anyone in the eco-greeting tradition. The Three Wise Men, Arometa, SOUQ Enlightenment.
Broad Street. Broad Street, situated in Lagos Island, is steeped in Nigerian history. Once the biggest financial hub of the country, it housed the headquarters of major banks, linked the CBN, the stock exchange, and the loads of lender companies. Broad Street is a historically significant street. It has played a central role in the development of Lagos and history, an important commercial and administrative center for the British colonial authorities. It was also a home to some of the city's earliest modern buildings. Broad Street was a residential area in the pre-colonial era. With the British came the Methodist Boys High School in 1878 and the Broad Street Prison in 1882, renamed Freedom Park. The General Hospital, which was a British military hospital, was built in 1893, being the first general hospital in Nigeria. The old British Secretariat building, which is now the Federal Ministry of Justice, was built in 1906. Broad Street has seen a full turn into modern commercial office blocks, complexes, skyscrapers, and markets from the outer marina through Akpombo, early into the Adeniji Adele Road. Broad Street is one of the busiest streets in Nigeria on weekdays, where commercial activities take place day and night. From modern buildings to ancient structures, this street gives one a raw dose of life in Lagos. Broad Street is often referred to as Lagos Financial District. It boasts a mix of architectural styles, reflecting its long history, colonial era buildings, Victorian and Edwardian architectural features, alongside more modern skyscrapers and structures. Broad Street remains a vital, vibrant part of Nigerian economy. Broad Street. SOUQ Enlightenment.
My name is Veronica Nkechi Eze.
Charles Abana.
My name is Professor Martins Emeje.
Professor Sylvester Odion Akaine.
Keep
watching SOUQ
News TV.
The best news channel online.
It's elevating, it's enlightening, it's educating.
Muhammad Ali found his root in Africa. Rumble in the jungle. I swear the king is humble. Jesse Jackson, O.J. Simpson, this is black history. Andrew Young visit Africa in the late 60s. Legend, Bob Marley make the life different. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X are big names. They fought for black Americans in the old days. We need same revolution in our own ways. Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, Mr. Jay-Z, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre and Eddie Murphy. American prosperity ain't complete with African poverty. It's legendary Idris Abdul Karim, and you are on to SOUQ News. You don't touch that dial.
Tafawa Balewa Square, TBS. Tafawa Balewa Square was initially used as a horsing ground called Lagos Race Course. The edifice was constructed by General Yakubu Gowon in 1972 and named after Nigeria's first Prime Minister, Sir Tafawa Balewa. Tafawa Balewa Square is located at 45/57 Marse Bangboshe Street on Lagos Island, Lagos, and referred to as TBS. TBS is a 50,000-seater capacity venue and houses the Remembrance Arcade, the 26-story Independence House, which at a time was the country's tallest building. When Lagos served as the country's seat of government, the National Assembly Complex was within the TBS. Also in the square are the National Broadcasting Commission Office, the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency Office, shopping centers, travel agencies, restaurants, car parking lots, and a bus terminal. Tafawa Balewa Square is adorned with beautiful statues of white horses and red eagles, symbols of strength and dignity. Our historic neighbors include the King's College and the Holy Cross Cathedral. Tafawa Balewa Square hosted some of the country's memorable events, such as the Independence Day in 1960, when Nigeria gained independence from Britain, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, which is celebrated annually on January 15. The edifice is a national cultural asset. Tafawa Balewa Square, SOUQ Enlightenment.
I'm okay.
My name is Raymond Bola Brown.
Hi, my name is Fred Amata, and you are on to SOUQ News.
If you are watching this channel for the first time, make sure you continue to watch it because this is SOUQ News.
Shout out to SOUQ News. Actually, I don't know. I really enjoyed the little moment I spent with you, and I think with more of this.
SOUQ News. Here's the SOUQ News, who had the courage to transcend a locked-off camera and actually have a conversation with a human being. It's a pleasure, SOUQ News. Thank you very much.
Idumota Market. Eko Idumota, once a residential neighborhood, is home to Idumota Market, located on Lagos Island. It is one of the oldest and arguably one of the largest markets in West Africa. Idumota is a historic neighborhood adjacent to the Lagos port that facilitated the slave trade, and later, under the British indirect rule, it surrounded to exports that fueled the colonial enterprise. Idumota was also the location of an Armed Forces Remembrance Cenotaph called Soja Idumota, built as a monument to Nigerian soldiers who served with the West African Frontier Force. An Eyo Masquerade statue and a clock tower are also some monuments at Idumota. Idumota Market is so popular that large sales are recorded as early as 7 a.m. The market is made up of hundreds of locked-up shops occupying several multi-story buildings, with some measuring about 5 or more floors. In 2010, the Lagos State government demolished some illegal structures in order to improve vehicular and human movement in and around the markets. During weekdays, the neighborhood of Idumota is densely populated by shoppers, traders, and bus passengers. From the Carter Bridge ascending into Lagos Island, passengers can see the neighborhood before disembarking at their final destination. Idumota Market accommodates the substantial inflow of imported goods. The bulk of import from abroad are routed first through Idumota and then on to other markets through Nigeria and other West and Central African countries. The energy of private Idumota traders and wholesalers facilitate this activity, where millions of US dollars worth of wholesale is exchanged daily. Idumota Markets, SOUQ Enlightenment.
Hello and welcome to SOUQ Pulse. It's a beautiful day and we are glad you are on the other side and part of the program for today. It's that show, it's that particular program where we look at international organizations, money moving across borders. We look at people, we look at business they are getting into, we look at countries, we look at policies. We just keep looking, talking and seeing where is the profit being made, who is taking the loss, how are they balancing those shit? And at the end of the day, what is taking food or putting food on the table? We know that that is what matters at the end of the day. Roof over our heads, food on our tables, clothes on our back, economy moving forward. How do we solve problem? And we talk. It's SOUQ Pulse. My name is Chuks, John-Rogers Chuks. And we will go on a very short break. When we get back, we will talk and introduce the topic for today. I'm still blessed to have our guest in here, and it's a blessing. I don't take that for granted. Don't go anywhere. SOUQ Pulse will be right back. Yes, welcome back. For a while, we've dwelt and really dealt on the theme productivity, production, be it for Africa, be it as it's done in Asia, then those that we are trying to chase for countries that see themselves as chasing or that there is a race in front of them. Whether you know or you don't know, whether you like it or not, everyone is running. Are you? So today we are looking at import substitution industrialization. You heard me right? Import substitution industrialization. Some people will be wondering, is it just single words or is it a coinage? It's a particular term that has been there for a very long time. And it's a practice that some people might not even know that they are practicing it. Some nations might definitely come out and take that as a policy. But let me break this down. It's more like a trade and economic policy where we advocate replacing foreign imported product for domestically produced items. Yes, you heard me very right. Import substitution industrialization. If we say we need to produce, if we say we need to reduce our dependence on developed countries, your yardstick or parameters for saying who is developed or not is yours. So if we say we need to produce and stop that dependence, if we say we need to grow an economy or grow our own side, be it in Africa, be it in Asia, be it in Latin America, then we need to encourage local production, industries, ingenuity, be it through government policies, be it through subsidies, be it through taxation, whichever form. And if this is taken up as a tax and a government policy come into it, then things are possible. Example of this could be seen what happened in Latin America over a period of time in the early 60s, 70s, 80s. People will write about it in different modes as it suits them. They are not the ones that really practiced it. It's not on their continent or on their soil that it succeeded or failed. But hey, everybody is trying to sell something. So whatever narrative you get to hear is the person's perspective based on what the person is selling. My name is Chuks, and I still have with me Mr. Sam. Sir, you're welcome to SOUQ PULSE.
My pleasure to be here, Chuks.
Thank you very much. So we are looking at import substitution industrialization, and we are asking this particular question. Let's start with Africa. Is it something that we can, of a truth, look ourselves in the face and say, let's try this? Our government, let policies be made, and let's try this.
Chuks, thank you very much indeed. Like you rightly pointed in your intro, import substitution strategy or import substitution industrialization are just economic models that are developed by economists who belong to the Keynesian School of Economics, where a country can put up a development model that try to reduce dependence on imported items in order to protect infant and local industry through the mechanism of what you call protectionism, so that those companies can compete globally with other, but as a policy framework which was popularized in Latin America, particularly in the early 70s to 80 up to the early 90s. Nigeria actually tinkered with that economic policy framework in the 70s, 80s, and up to the early 90s. But as a policy framework, to what extent has that import substitution strategy as an economic policy fed in Africa, fed in Nigeria, remain to be seen in terms of actual practice. Over the years, the Bretton Woods institutions have always forced their policies on us, undermining some of these economic models that were meant to protect infant industry through protectionism, tariffs, a quota system that can sustain.
Can I cut you there? See, we all, on this show, we make things a bit personal when it comes to countries, when it comes to regions. So sometimes when you say trying to protect industries, what did you call them again?
Infant industries.
Yes. Now,
industry that are in their infancy.
Good.
Who are into manufacturing.
Can you personalize it? Infant industries in Africa.
No,
in Nigeria,
I said Africa, okay. Nigeria.
Now, so
I was making an overall framework statement.
Good. Let's give them names and localities.
If you say Nigeria, yes, Nigeria made an attempt.
Africa.
Yes,
yeah,
even
those borrowing from those places.
Even as an undergraduate and a graduate student, we studied those policies, and since we have left school, we don't really see the impact of those policy framework. They are good framework, particularly in developing nations, so that they can catch up with the called developed societies. But by and large,
is catching up the goal, or being able to feed yourself first?
No.
Being able to
originally, in terms of the policy framework, was to catch up. Those who brought about that policy statement was first and foremost catch up with the developed economies. So, and why this is so is that when you continually import, you are stifling your local industry. And that's why that policy was initiated, and it was practiced widely in Latin America. The success of that policy in Latin America, to a very large extent initially, was okay. But then even when Nigeria adopted it as a policy framework, particularly in the 70s and the 80s, you had some industry coming in, but after 20, 30 years, some of those infant industries that the government was supposed to protect, we can no longer see those industries. So if you look at
why can't we see those industries?
Yeah, because
no direct pointers to what happened.
No, it's essentially what you are trying to protect,
okay.
And eventually you didn't protect it.
Why?
So over-reliance. I talked about the issue earlier about the political economy of Africa, where most of the policy framework come from the Bretton Woods institution that try to favor.
Do they have names?
Of course, when you say Bretton Woods institutions, the World Banks of this world,
Okay.
the IMF of this world,
Okay.
whatever international financial institution that was created in the West after the Second World War.
And they tend to come with their own policies.
Yeah, so those policies...
Which is opposite of this
Yeah,
particular
which
one.
is essentially opposite of import substitution strategy, which was supposed to protect local industry that are in their infancy. So government find a way to provide some quota.
When you say protect, is grow part of it? Like
No,
protect and grow.
Yeah, when you protect those companies,
Okay.
then there will be growth. And over time, they move in from their growth stage to some level of development, and they can compete favorably with countries that are in the developed societies who produce same kinds of product. But then the policy framework allows for government to provide a kind of quota system, a kind of tariff, a kind of tax restrictions that can sustain this industry. But in terms of actual practice, this has not been the case in Nigeria because we are overtly...
Is it only Nigeria?
No, you said we should situate our explanation
Using Nigeria as a case study.
As a case study. That's
Okay.
what you said
Okay.
earlier.
Now let me hold part of that particular thought where you were going to. You're not just postulating. You're saying some real facts of things that you didn't just read, you didn't just know, you experienced, you saw. Now for this particular import substitution strategy, you call it a strategy, taking industrialization out of it. Let's just
No, it's a strategy. So in some literature,
word.
they call it import substitution industrialization.
Okay.
ISI. That's
Yes.
that's a framework. Some say import substitution strategy. Some just say import substitution. So
Yes.
whatever
Now,
coinage.
as a people, as Africans, okay, if we say let's take a lesson from what happened in Latin America, forgetting what amount or what type of narration has been written on their own history on that particular issue, it worked. Production-wise, industries grew to the extent that they were manufacturing airplanes in Latin America, which means it was possible. Then, which means the competition you were talking about, being able to now compete, is now where the issue is going to be, because whoever is stronger in competition will try to stifle the next person. But now, carving a niche looks better than competition. Running your race looks better than competition. Now let's come to Africa, and let's come using Nigeria as another yardstick. In our own case, we went and started borrowing from the World Bank, IMF, and the likes. And the policies they were giving were different. At this point in time, how can that young industry, that young company, whatever they were manufacturing, grow if the policy of this other side is saying open up the market and bring in his competition that is producing at a cheaper rate? Then you brought up the important thing of tariff, of tax, be it tax rebate on this side. Now, when Nigeria was opening up the market and letting the competition come in, what stopped them from bringing or raising a tariff for the one that is coming in? So if you're coming in or if you're buying that particular one, it can come, but let the tariff be high so this person can survive. What stopped them from doing that?
No, fortunately, that's the policy somersault. Somebody is encouraging you to open your border so that you can compete globally. Whereas your infant industry that are into production has not come to that level of development in terms of their production processes and system. And you couldn't, in a way, find a protection mechanism that will protect this industry and provide a kind of disincentive for those companies that are opening your gates for to compete locally. Therefore, that policy framework was not sustainable because a lot of import-driven manufacturing company who are like a trading outpost, were on this part of the divide. In that regard, therefore, some of this infant industry that you have a policy framework to provide a kind of protectionism so that they can survive, those competitions just kill those industry. So it was a policy failure on the part of government to open its gate to all kinds of companies that were being encouraged by the Bretton Woods institutions, who, in my view, have not always worked in the interest of Nigeria. So those policy frameworks were very good, but if the government at that particular point in time was able to sustain those industries, the rolling mills, the paper manufacturing companies, where we should have been as a country would have been different. And again, and this is one of the major challenges when you talk about the foreign exchange regime, because when you import, you spend so much trying to source foreign exchange at the expense of your local industry. Therefore, those industries were supposed to protect ab initio. You couldn't do that initially. Then you left your economy, and we became a traders kind of economy when anything as much as toothpick were coming in.
When you say traders, who were those that are trading? Because on this side, we were just buying.
No, that's what I mean. Trading means there's no manufacturing. So
we are just a market.
No, you just go to China.
You are being nice. I don't know that. I don't know if
no. Excuse me. No, I'm not nice. I'm stating the obvious facts. Maybe my choice of words may not be those kind of words that you want me to use. But
no, I don't want you to use. I'm just looking at what we are seeing.
No, the point is being made in the sense that the market was open, where you allow items like toothpick, rather than placing an outright ban. No amount of pressure from the Western institution should have allowed that to happen. People go to China, you are even bringing paper bags, plastic bags, imported into your country.
Pencil, crayon, cleaners.
Whatever.
Okay. So now let's turn this table.
Banning as a mechanism, which is equally part of the import substitution strategy, we couldn't enforce it. So those who have entrenched interest in terms of import, once the government puts a policy framework in place, people are crying that the borders are closed, people cannot no longer import. Whereas the local industry that were there to provide a kind of growth and development for the economy couldn't survive at the end of the day.
Okay.
And let me just make this final point, which is very important for the viewing audience. In the 80s up to the 90s, if you transverse between the Ikeja industrial scheme, you have the Maturi industrial scheme, and you have the Lukbeju industrial scheme. It was a place where manufacturing, all kinds of manufacturing, were taking place. So there were incentives for employment, people were productive, then people were gainfully employed, and you had a booming economy. And maybe after 30 years, some of those industries have closed up, and those places have been turned to centers of worship, regrettably.
30 years? It's not up to 30 years.
No, up to the early 90s. So 90 to now is just barely 30 years.
Let's turn this table. Now, these particular organizations are majorly from the West. These same organizations that give you the same policy, open up your market, free trade through whatever organization charter you signed. These same organizations from these same countries, there are a lot of product that they won't let you bring into their country as long as they are making that in their own country. Typical example, when it was time to roll in 5G, the United States drew heaven and hell to make sure that they rolled out with their own equipment first, before China. They would now get to ask, what exactly are the leaders or the politicians on this side thinking, or have the heads gone to sleep? If they can't take certain products from here that they bought with their own money here, well, while they are traveling, they are seized at the airport, why do we allow this same product flood our own market when we know we have alternative here?
The international economic architecture is not in favor of the developing country. So the leadership, on the other hand, has not woken up to their responsibility to say that some of these celebrated Bretton Woods institutions that have held a juggler for a long while cannot be removed from the conversation. The point here is that leaders must understand the international conspiracy from the West, who often disguise by telling you that these policy frameworks are better for your countries, and this will enhance economic growth, this will provide employment, at the end of the day, you have a surplus budget, public finance option that you can play with as a country. But at the end of the day, they are protecting their own local industry, and you open your gate so wide, and that they continue to control the way you think and the way you respond to issues. So we need leadership who can confront the West. Even in literature, you have seen that some countries that have been able to confront the West head-on. There are issues of assassinations of leaders who are not pro-West. But I think we have moved away from that narrative. So the point we're saying here, import substitution strategy as an economic policy had worked elsewhere and continue to work elsewhere, but then leaders in Nigeria, and by extension African leaders, must find a way to take a closer look at what is good for their people, and they can place a outright ban on items they think that can be produced from their country. On the other hand, they should increase the tariff of some of these imported items, so that particularly luxury products that are finding their way into our environment, this will help to improve our industrialization process.
Okay, now talking about this substitution policy right now, how can we start small? Be it from the zones, be it from whatever form of, be it in agriculture, be it in manufacturing, how can we start small? How can we look at zones and see what are these zones good at? What are these cultures good at? What come to them easily? How can we start small and start that adverse, that particular talk, let it be in the face of everybody? How can we start? Because we just need to start.
From a policy perspective, economic policy as well, you have what we call factor endowment, which is popularly called comparative advantage. So people should focus on where they have comparative advantage over others, so that they can focus more in terms of the process of specialization, which is one of the core elements of comparative advantage. On the other hand, we must equally find a way to look inward in terms of our ability to compete, because we equally have that challenge.
Why are you dwelling on competing?
No, it's important. Okay, because this is a global. Okay, no, this is a global world. No, I want to make a point. Please. Hold before you continue, this point has to be made, please. Okay. The point I'm making is that how can we compete even where infant industry, rather than improving on the quality of their products, then you have what we call, to a very large extent, substandard manufacturing process that are not sustainable, that cannot compete elsewhere. So we must equally look inward. Why we blame the West for some of our predicament,
Okay.
then we as a people must equally look at the other, what people are doing elsewhere,
Okay.
that is making them to compete, because you cannot talk about...
Okay, now the question I'm going to ask,
yes.
compete with who?
Compete with other industries.
Okay.
It's a global village.
Industries within or industries outside?
Within and
Okay.
without.
Now, this is where my gross on compete is. For nations that have not been able to satisfy themselves, I don't want to say feed, for nations that have not been able to produce items that they themselves will buy and use, for nations that 90, 80, 70% of the things they use is coming from outside, what are you looking for competition for? Why don't you produce for yourself first?
No, they're already producing for themselves, but it's a responsibility.
We are producing
it's
less
than 5%. No, it's the responsibility of the government to protect industries.
Good. If the government is protecting and saying, okay, don't bring in finished furniture, which means somebody has to produce that finished furniture for the population.
Yes, but even if you must even produce that finished furniture for the population, then quality and standardization must be part of that process.
I agree.
So you get a level where even those products you are producing locally, once they are sustainably manufactured, they are in line, they are eco-friendly, and over time, that growth will come. And when people even look for alternative in terms of even cost, they like to patronize you.
Okay.
And
let me remind you of something. And you were the one that made this particular example. There was a time in India, remember Tata, remember Mahindra, remember there's this particular major brand, Kia. Now, Tata majorly Kia is also part of it.
Is a Korea
yes, but Kia is part of this example. Now, for Tata is India. Tata was not good at four-wheel drives, was not good at saloon cars. So it was majorly tractors, heavy-duty cars. And they now started making luxury cars or cars for the families. Indians patronized them, even at that crude stage. And with time, look at Tata today. The same thing for Kia that was not as good as others. Kia in some states, in this same United States that they didn't want to buy Kia, is the second most bought car after Toyota. The same thing for Mahindra. So first they produced for their own population. The population patronized them and kept faith with them, and the companies grew. So the same way African countries should start producing for themselves. This is the market where the dumping is happening. This is the market where the importation is happening. So those particular things that were important, don't you think if you are saying slow down, we should produce for ourselves first before we start competing with the competitor?
There's no problem with that. I think we have already underscored the importance of protectionism and citizen patronizing their own made product to encourage those industry first and foremost to be productive and add to the national productivity, provide an employment. Over time, the engineering processes and the manufacturing processes, good manufacturing practices, over time, we improve. And you gave an example of India that had a pioneering role in automotive industry. Why they encourage a local product that was manufactured. But even when we even had some international brands, I don't want to mention them, that were being manufactured here, we had an assembly plant in Kaduna that was dealing with a particular brand. We can mention that Peugeot automobile products in Kaduna. Because those industries were not protected, they went under. You have the Mercedes truck manufacturing company in Enugu that was just close to Proda, one agency that was an engineering development agency at that particular point in time. Then you had even some other plants.
You had Volkswagen.
Yes, just behind us here. We couldn't have a government policy regime that could sustain those countries. But in terms of patronage, Nigerians were patronizing those products. So even from that assembly, in terms of transfer of technology, over time, maybe we'll have had some prototype of other products from engineering processes for those who had worked there. But the government just close their eye to the basis of protection, and they had a policy somersault. The government and the bureaucracy, who were supposed to find a way to protect this industry, just looked the other way.
Okay.
And today we now consume.
I need you to speak on this because our time is fast spent. Now, if we are looking at getting these industries on and working, for right now, as we speak, a lot of African countries don't make some of these heavy machineries that these industries will use. Is it possible, I'll say, as we are tinkering on this particular policy, governments across borders, across these countries can also say, okay, if we are bringing machineries for our countries or our industries to use, let's also sign a pact that whoever is bringing those machines, wherever we are taking them from, we have a service agreement with them. Whenever these industries or wherever these machineries need replacement, those parts will be made here. We'll buy from you, but you make those parts here. Because if they can do it there, we can also do it here.
Yeah, those policy framework may be there, but the issue here is that the regulatory framework, particularly from the Minister of Industry,
it's now a person thing.
Is a major challenge where you have a policy and you are not able to enforce those regulations to sustain your industry. It becomes a major challenge. So if we must reduce over-dependence on imported goods, then this policy framework must be sustained across Africa. And leaders must have the political will to sustain that. On the other hand, citizens must equally rethink the process of their consumption pattern to buy locally made good. And you have a lot of advertising taglines: buy made in Nigerian goods, buy made in Ghana goods, buy made in Rwanda goods, buy made in Kenya goods. So
and
if the citizens
put it in the face of everybody.
Yeah, so citizens must be part of this process. So it's not just sufficient to criticize government. Citizens must look inward. If you look at us seated here, if you look at the greater component of what we're putting on, they are essentially imported items. So even we are trying to promote this, then we look at some of the things that come from our own environment as you're not
weekend wear, party wear.
Yeah, you're not globally compliant because you're trying to consume your own items. So the advice here going forward as a people is that we must, as a deliberate policy, first and foremost, consume what is made in our country so that we can sustain employment, we can sustain national productivity, and some of the criminality that we are confronted with. If the employment ecosystem and the environment is good, then this criminality that we are crying about on a daily basis will be reduced.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Sam. It's always a pleasure having you here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a good one. It's really a good one. So we are going on a break right now, and when we return, I will introduce you to our second guest. Don't go anywhere. It's still SOUQ Pulse.
The National Theatre, Igomu, built during the military regime of Olusegun Obasanjo and finished in the time for the Second World Festival of Black Arts and Culture, FESTAC, in 1977. The theatre holds amazing treasures and memories. The artworks fill everyone with pride. The National Arts Theatre is visible from the motorway which connects Lagos Island and the mainland. The National Theatre is packed with the artworks of legendary contemporary Nigerian artists, stained glass walls by Yusuf Grillo, sculptures and murals by Lamidi Fakeye, Erabo Emopai, and many others. It was put to full use for a month as one of the 4 venues of the second World Black and African Festival of Arts and Culture, tagged FESTAC 77. The complex hosted 16,000 participants from 56 African countries and the diaspora in an unprecedented showcase of African music, fine art, literature, drama, dance, and religion. The National Art Theatre was built and designed by Techno Experts Troll, a Bulgarian company mirroring the Palace of Culture and Sports in Varna, Bulgaria. Completed in 1976, the building is one of the largest and most beautiful of its kind on the African continent. It consists of a central hall with 5,000 seats, a collapsible stage that can be quickly rebuilt, a conference hall with 1,600 seats, 2 large exhibition halls, and 2 cinemas with 800 seats each. The theater complex has a dressing room for artists, a garage, offices, coffee bars, and a buffet. It has indoor TV and radio systems, as well as booths with facilities for simultaneous translation of languages and hectares of lush green lawn around. The majestic structure sits in Igomu like a quiet mountain, mesmerizing visitors and passers-by. The National Theatre, SOUQ Enlightenment.
My name is Yinka Babalola.
My name is Ijoma Pelokoro.
My name is Joshua Hassan.
I am Rotarian or Mosunde Lawson.
It's Ife Yunwarita Ejeze. My friends call me Ife.
My name is Rotarian Lola Dare.
I'm inviting you to keep watching SOUQ News. It's the right station to tune to.
I like SOUQ News. SOUQ News is good.
I want to charge you all to listen to SOUQ News, watch the news.
You can have unlimited news, first time.
Find SOUQ News. Be with SOUQ News. Never switch off. You are better for it. SOUQ News is the real thing.
Listen to their coverage and you'll be glad you did.
Turn to your YouTube, turn to your Instagram, turn to all your digital channels and look for SOUQ News.
Keep watching.
Keep watching.
Please, guys, keep watching
SOUQ News.
Welcome back. It's still SOUQ Pulse, and it's always a nice time being here. And hey, I want to say thank you for everyone dropping their comments and being part of this conversation. We will not stop talking. So should you. We are looking at industrialization. We are looking at import substitution. Industrialization is still the major theme. Production is what is running all across the borders of what we stand and talk about in the last almost a month. And hey, it affects you, it affects me. It puts food on the table, it gets work for people. It just gets the economy moving. And our first guest has done justice to his part, and we'll say thank you to him. My next guest is someone you've seen here before. His name is Ikenna Mbah, and he's not just a house member, he is a media personnel, and we say thank you very much. Mr. Ikenna, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you, Chuks.
You're welcome. You're welcome to SOUQ Pulse. We've been looking at this particular topic, and Mr. Sam has come in and he gave it some good punches.
Okay.
We disagreed over some things, but yes, he ironed the topic out. Almost ironed me out at a particular point in time. Now we are looking at alternatives, but before we go to alternative, let's look at agriculture. We have no business. We have no business. I will say it like the third time. We have no business. Africa has no business importing food, depending on the West for food, or depending on China, Asia. Let me be specific. For rice, why are we still doing that?
You know, exports is a huge business, right? So, and import-export, huge business. You know, one of the things, I agree with you when you say we have no business importing food, because food is our staple across board, north, south, east, west. We grow different various foods which we interchange, we share, we barter from back in the day till now. So we have no business in importing food. But also keep in mind that there are people that benefit from certain things when they go wrong. There are people that benefit from when others are suffering, right? So there are people that would, instead of growing it here, and they'll get little change in their pocket or no change at all, they'll rather take the long route for some money to be in their pockets. So that's one of the things that we're suffering.
So we're looking at majorly selfishness.
And greed.
Selfishness, greed, wickedness. Okay. Now, we look at some countries. Most times we use Nigeria as a yardstick, thanks to the population, thanks to the size of the geographical mass, size of the land available.
Yes.
And some particular states in Nigeria, to be specific, Niger State is bigger than several countries that is providing food, that is sending food to Nigeria. Why, like this is the third time, why can't we as a people, considering or not considering whoever is trying to import, just go out there and go back to the farm? We have seen our mistakes. Yes, they are numerous. We've committed them. We've left the villages. We've gone to the urban centers. We've depended on eating imported food. Now it is choking us. Correct. What is stopping us from saying, everybody, do your white-collar job? If you can't go to the farm, sponsor somebody to go to the farm.
You see, one of the things that's ongoing now, people are actually getting into the farms. I know a couple of people. I know people that have retired to their hectares of land that they bought in the hinterlands for cheap, and they're growing their foods. But it's a private thing. One of the reasons why that wouldn't happen easily in this climate is the insecurity. It's a major thing. Sometimes it seems deliberate. Sometimes it just seems because of the migration of people to, digitize their lives. So people have moved from the hinterlands, from the villages to the city. But basically, insecurity is a major problem. People have died aimlessly. People's villages have been taken over. Sometimes it seems like it's a deliberate ploy to affect agriculture, to make food scarce, to cause famine. No one really knows. But the fact is that people are getting killed on their farmlands. So you can't begin to force people to go to the farmlands if they're not going to be protected. Initially, they felt protected because they're like, okay, all the problems happen in the city, all the problems happen in towns, but now they found us, traced us back to our villages, to where we are from, and it's not safe. So if we take care of the security, you can begin to plan and let people go back to the farms, and people want to go back to the farms.
Insecurity is the major issue right now.
Yes.
Okay. So you can hear, make sure your representatives here, drag them to here, make sure your governors here. They are not your leaders. You are actually the leaders. They are sitting in a position to do the job you send them to do. So hold them responsible. Now let's look at alternatives. That's what we wanted to look at. Okay. Now we import, we export less. Now let's look at alternatives. Let's start from the West. Let's start from tech. The US, major tech apps that the US had, be it the financial app, be it the payment apps, be it the social media apps. They have Facebook, they have WhatsApp, they have Twitter, they have payment apps. They have PayPal, they have Skype, they have Script, they have Apple Pay, they have all that lot. But now look at their next competitor, Asia. Asia did not wait to use theirs, to depend on. They also developed their own. Asia they have WeChat, they have TikTok, they have Alibaba, who happens to be one of the biggest e-commerce sites in the world.
True.
They have Weibo, they have Taobao, they have names that you will bite your tongue. These are people that are deliberate, 100% deliberate. But what are we doing here in Africa? We are consuming. So if we want to buy in China, we use Alibaba. If we want to buy in Asia, in the US, we use Amazon. We need to support our own. So if they also want to patronize or do something, they should use our own. That is something we should seriously canvass and support, and not just be pro this, pro that. Now let's go to some certain things we import this way and now look for substitutes. Wheat. What substitute will you call for?
For wheat, we have gari.
Cassava.
We have cassava, and from cassava you can make a myriad of other products. We have that.
Okay, for wheat,
We have
we can
corn.
substitute with cassava and corn.
And corn.
Because
We can substitute with cocoyam. So many things.
For wheat?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can swallow cocoyam.
Okay. Now, infant formulas. Now, the institute, the Nutrition Institute developed soy ogi.
Oh, really?
Yes. Now, this is years ago. And it's safe and very nutritious. So for those of you that are scared, or you are saying you don't want to go get married and give birth because of the price of infant formula, that's if you're not doing exclusive. There are substitutes right here, made here in Africa, and it's good. You never can tell. I would say it's still better. Soy ogi. So Google that. For imported milk, we still have a whole lot of products. Imported milk. You're thinking of a substitute?
No, I'm not necessarily thinking of one, because I know we rear goats in the north, and from research, goat's milk is more nutritious than what we have now. So there's goat milk, and there's oats milk.
Where is that from?
I have no idea. It's from oats. I've seen packs sold in the stores. We import those too, but we can.
But it's imported.
That's
we are looking for substitutes that are not imported.
No, they're not imported, but we can make them here. They can be manufactured here. They can be processed here. We have what happens is just like our oil. We send our oil out, it's refined, and we bring it back to us.
So that's primary product, they send secondary product to us.
Exactly. That same way, we have all those things. They're buying our cassava in bulks now. In bulk to take out and bring finished products to us.
And sending us starch and pharmaceutical starch.
Now, recently, they're bringing us our bitter leaf in tablets. I saw this some days ago. Our bitter leaf. They're taking it out in bags and bags and bags, and they're bringing us finished products too. We'll soon start buying. So that's the problem, is us not focusing to do the job, to do the work. There's work to be done. But we just want things microwave, want things fast, want things quick. That's our major problem, Chuks. That's our major problem.
Okay. Growing up, I don't know if did you pass through the north growing up?
Oh yeah, I did.
Good. Did you ever?
I grew up around the country. My folks were in the army, so we did a lot of traveling.
No wonder you walked where you walk. Okay, yes. Soya bean milk.
Soy is beautiful. It's fantastic. I hope we're not importing that too.
No.
Because we have them around.
We
people are making them.
We plant it here.
People are making soy milk. People are making soy. Oh.
And it's very nutritious, and is an alternative to imported milk.
Correct. Correct.
And for that particular one, you don't need to be, even if you are lactose intolerant.
It works.
I just gave you a solution. Okay, let's look for imported fuel. I think I felt a bit of shame to say that.
What do we do about that? It's a major problem. Okay, for fuel, people have done gas. It's just that something happened a few years ago where there was a few days ago there were some explosions, and people were, I don't know if it was deliberate to move people away from using that, but some people have used it. Yes, people have used them, and it's worked.
Now, a lot of those, we export gas to, we also import a bit. So now, what solution are we going to profile for importing that fuel, aside Dangote?
Well, we could go to, when we're talking automobiles strictly, we could look at electric vehicles.
Electric vehicles, yeah. Well, we'll import those too.
You see, like I said, we can manufacture these things, but I don't know why we're choosing not to. We can manufacture these things. We have everything we require to do them.
Okay. What about power and generators?
Solar.
Solar. Okay, from the panels to the batteries we import.
Right now we do. Again, we can manufacture those things.
What about breaking the monopoly of these discos?
Now that would be a difficult thing because...
why will it be difficult? Government can do it.
Who's the discos? It's the government.
If we put pressure, government can do it.
Since when has pressure affected government to change things?
Because we have not put enough pressure.
Oh, well, the discos, The government at the discos and the discos at the government.
Okay.
It's a long, winding
pasta
solution.
Fabrics, electronics. Take this in one sweep.
Electronics, we can
start with pasta.
Pasta,
because I know you like it.
I love pasta. Pasta, the substitute for pasta. Eventually, we still, we talked about cassava.
Cassava can go there.
Yes.
Potatoes can go there.
Yes. Yam.
Yam can go there.
For vehicles, electronics, we have homegrown people that make electronics, but we've always been people that like, things that come from outside, which is
right now it is squeezing us.
It is.
Solution.
Is it not even a tighter squeeze if you want to manufacture now from scratch?
What if we tell them, come and manufacture it here?
What's the incentive that would make them agree to that?
I won't call their name, the brand that makes the thing that cools the houses. They are making it here for a very long time.
But how many are they? They have to believe that it's safe for them, first of all. Secondly,
if those ones can come, others will come.
You have a point, though.
Good.
You have a point, valid point.
Okay. I want to say thank you very much. We had to reel this and look for alternative, just like we are doing that in the studio. Also, look around you. Just sit down comfortably in your house and look around your house. Be it things you use on the regular or things you don't use on the regular, and ask yourself, what are the alternatives that are manufactured or present in my locality or being made here in your country? That is where we should start from. Then we'll now talk about manufacturing. I want to say thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ikenna.
Thank you, Chuks.
It's a pleasure having you here.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. To our viewers, to our listeners, to those that have logged on, I want to say thank you very much. We will do this again tomorrow. And remember, it's International Day for Women. That's why I coined it. So for every girl child out there, we love you. And for every man out there, make sure you show some love to every beautiful girl child and mother out there. Thank you very much. My name is Chuks, John-Rogers Chuks. We'll show you something special tomorrow. Bye.